Chapter 1. The Panorama of the Pokrovsk Front and the Emergence of the First Azov Corps. 1. Introduction. When Pokrovsk becomes the focus, Pokrovsk, a city located in Donetsk Oblast, Ukraine, has suddenly transformed from a peaceful coal mining town into the center of international news. Here, the sound of air defense sirens and artillery fire seems to have become a familiar background noise for residents. In recent days, a phrase has appeared frequently in the press: the First Azov Corps. This force, part of the Ukrainian National Guard, has just been mobilized to Pokrovsk to reinforce the shaky defense line. The deployment of a unit considered Ukraine's top elite to Pokrovsk is not simply a military move, it is a signal showing the level of tension and importance of this front. When a country decides to put its trump card into battle, it means it is facing a clear danger. 2. Why has Pokrovsk become a flashpoint? There is an important question. Why has Pokrovsk become a priority target for Russia and, conversely, a vital line of defense for Ukraine? The answer lies in terrain and strategy. Pokrovsk is a strategic junction, located on the route from Dobropillia to Kramatorsk, which is considered the gateway to deeper penetration into the Ukrainian-controlled area of Donetsk. If Pokrovsk falls, the defense line behind it will be seriously threatened. In other words, in the eastern chessboard, Pokrovsk is a knight in a position that can both attack and defend. If Russia captures it, they will not only move closer to Kramatorsk, but also cut off Ukraine's supply and mobility lines. The appearance of the First Azov Corps. The First Azov Corps is a familiar name to those who have followed the war in Ukraine since 2014. Initially, this unit was a volunteer battalion, then merged into the National Guard of Ukraine. They are famous for their iron discipline, flexible combat capabilities, and especially high fighting spirit. According to information from Ukrainska Pravda, Azov units were present in Pokrovsk for several days before the official news was announced. This shows that the reinforcement plan was prepared in advance and kept secret to avoid the enemy from knowing the situation. The appearance of Azov here can be compared to a football team that is tied in the 70th minute, deciding to send a super striker onto the field. No one takes out their secret weapon early if it is not really necessary. 4. The situation at the front, volatile and fierce. Azov described the situation in Pokrovsk as complex and volatile. This phrase in military language usually means we are being squeezed but not broken. Russia, according to intelligence, was advancing in small groups towards Dobropillia with the intention of bypassing Ukraine's first line of defense. It is worth noting that this small group tactic is not new. In the history of warfare, especially World War II, many armies have used grouping tactics to avoid mass destruction and create pressure from multiple directions. For example, during the Battle of Stalingrad, the Germans used shock troops to infiltrate through neighborhoods, avoiding fortified defenses. In Pokrovsk, this Russian approach forced the Ukrainians to stretch their forces, forcing them to have strong mobile units to respond, and that is why Azov was brought in. 5. Failure of previous forces. Before Azov was deployed, the area was under the control of the Pokrovsk Operational Tactical Group. However, according to military sources, this group failed to hold the line. This is important information because it shows the seriousness of the situation. In military terms, a change of command or unit in charge of an area usually occurs only when the defense line is penetrated or about to collapse. The morale or fighting capacity of the unit is not up to the task, or more forces needed to counterattack or hold the area. In Pokrovsk, all three factors appear to be present. 6. Immediate and anticipated consequences. Azov's presence in Pokrovsk will have three main effects. It will raise the morale of Ukrainian units on the ground. An elite force, often seen as a psychological shield that helps soldiers believe they can hold out. Or more mobility to counter Russia's grouping tactics. Azov has experience in flexible operations in urban and mountainous areas, putting pressure on Russia, forcing them to recalculate when attacking an area with notoriously defensive forces. However, one fact cannot be ignored. Sending Azov into battle means Ukraine is losing one of its main cards. If the situation does not improve quickly, this will be a double-edged sword. Chapter 2. Azov Corps to Pokrovsk when the elite confront the Russian fire. 1. Pokrovsk, strategic flashpoint between Donetsk. Pokrovsk, an industrial city near the key link between Donetsk and Kramatorsk, has become a strategic crutch in the confrontation between Russia and Ukraine. Last December, Ukraine announced that Russia had breached the defense line around Pokrovsk, posing a serious threat to Kyiv's logistic areas. As Russia continues to rapidly advance along the Dobropillia-Kramatorsk road, the wave of military advances is becoming increasingly serious. According to Financial Times, Russian troops have advanced to within 15 kilometers of Dobropillia, putting Ukraine's logistic line on the brink of collapse. 2. Elite Azov, the force holding the Pokrovsk line. In face of this tense situation, on August 12, the 1st Azov Corps, an elite force of the National Guard of Ukraine, announced its presence and tasked with defending Pokrovsk. They acknowledged the situation as complex and volatile, but pledged to stop the Russian advance right at the hotspot. The 1st Azov Corps was created during the 2025 military reorganization and is a predecessor of the 2014 Azov Brigade, a force that stood firm in battles such as Mariupol. Their deployment this time is not only to hold the land, but also to send a clear message: Ukraine does not accept being blindsided on the battlefield. 3. Countermeasures and risk tactics. Azov deployed defensive forces close to Pokrovsk, blocking the Russian advance. They applied flexible small group tactics, coordinating drone reconnaissance, artillery, and infantry to hold back the opponent. Despite heavy losses, the Ukrainian army still kept their numbers stable to wait for further reinforcements. However, the risk still remains. If the defense line collapses, Russia can break through the logistics center, causing the battle situation to turn 180 degrees, putting Donetsk at risk of being surrounded. 4. Battlefield illustration. Imagine Pokrovsk as a high-speed door. On one side is a reliable force, on the other side is an overwhelming wave of attacks. The 1st Azov Corps is the pillar holding the door. If it breaks, everything will fall off the bridge of survival. Chapter 3. Strategic significance. The spirit of accepting sacrifice, not accepting the loss of land. 1. Building national spirit. The appearance of the elite Azov Corps in Pokrovsk sends a strong message. Ukraine is ready to defend every inch of land. It is not only a defensive war, it is also a symbol of steadfastness in the face of fierce pressure. Volunteers and soldiers described, if Pokrovsk falls, many areas of Donetsk will be as fragile as cakes falling from a higher place. 2. Diplomatic impact and battlefield. At the time of the Trump-Putin summit in Alaska, Ukraine's sending of elite forces to Pokrovsk was a hidden diplomatic message that they would not accept concessions or territorial exchanges. President Zelensky has stressed that there can be no peace without Ukraine's full participation. 3. The battlefield is stormy, but Ukraine is still persistent, according to AP News. Pokrovsk is one of the places that has been hit the hardest by shellings, but the spirit of the whole region is not broken. A soldier shared, "We know that peace is far, but fighting to keep our land is our mission." 4. Summary of main content. Pokrovsk is Ukraine's last line of defense in the Donetsk region. The 1st Azov Corps is deployed here to stop Russia's strong advance. The goal is not only to defend, but also to maintain national spirit and create a strategic impact before international viewers. The battlefield is fierce, but Ukraine is still resilient, waiting for aid and true peace. The End. A journalist on the front line. From Pokrovsk today, we see that war is not just about guns and bullets, it is also a battle to regain trust, to hold every inch of land, and to teach future generations the value of indomitable spirit. The 1st Azov Corps is not just an elite force, they are a symbol of Ukraine's determination on the edge of survival. If you find this story touching and inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to History and War. Every support is a heartbeat of inspiration, giving our team more strength to continue telling authentic, profound, and humane war stories. Ukraine is fighting not just to regain land, but to prove that peace cannot be won without perseverance, patriotism, and a demand for justice.